Hello, YouTube. Hello. I do apologize. I was late because I was not late. Wait, in my defense, I was doing StreamYard, and by some reason, I put it down on my other Facebook, on my Facebook, and it was going to my Facebook, and I forgot to do it on my YouTube. So I do apologize for that. But anyways, I want to congratulate the Argentina team for winning the American Cup. So I'm going to say it in Spanish. Felicidades a todos los argentinos por ganar la Copa de América. Um, yo creía que Brasil iba a ganar, porque Brasil es el favorito, pero Messi y compañía ganaron 1-0. Pues felicidades a todo el mundo, a la fanaticada de Argentina, al país de Argentina. Dice que es un país bello, nunca he estado ahí. Dicen en Buenos Aires es bellísimo. Me gusta como ellos hablan, porque ellos hablan con esa voz así, y es como que es una cosa que yo no puedo ni no entiendo, no entiendo. But anyway, pero mi español es de Puerto Rico y los argentinos es de Argentina. Pues felicidades a todas las fanáticas del equipo de Argentina, para el país de Argentina, y que el balompié, como se dice en Puerto Rico, y el soccer, como se le dice en inglés y en español también, que siga hacia adelante, que es el deporte que más se juega. Felicidades a todo el mundo, a aquella fanática de Argentina, y a Messi y a todo el mundo. Anyway, so now going back, I was congratulating the Argentinian team in Spanish. So what I'm talking about on my StreamYard, what I was doing, we're talking about freeing Cuba. Okay. Today I was listening to Fox Radio, which is something that I don't do, and the only reason that I don't listen to Fox Radio is because they're always covered with lies, and in the lies and their deceit, and they want you to do their narratives, and I don't like that. I mean, I like when I watch the news or I hear the news, I want it to be straight and I want it to be forward. And it doesn't matter, I just want it to be like this. You can't lean this way and you can't lean that way. I don't like that. That's just favoritism, and that's partisan. I don't like partisan at all. Um, so with that said, so this gentleman, I forgot it's not Rush Limbaugh, but he's dead. He passed away. That sounds so cruel. Um, but it was one of the commentators. He was saying that Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz was talking about that Joe Biden hasn't done anything. And honestly, Joe Biden can't do anything but only give support, right? Can only say, whatever the Cuban people decide to do leading towards democracy, the United States, are there for them. But what gets me mad is that this person said, "Oh, Ted Cruz is talking about Cuba. Marco Rubio is talking about Cuba," and then they're talking about that Joe Biden has not done anything, has not said anything. He did say that the United States can't do anything because they don't want an international war, which is true. No one wants that. But like Joe Biden can say something, he can spread the word. But Joe Biden doesn't need to say anything because everybody knows what Cuba is. Everybody knows the suffering that the Cuban people are going through, and they've been going that through 3 years. It's nothing new. But for those two morons, and I'm sorry to say that, but those two morons, Marco Rubio and for Ted Cruz to say anything about Cuba now, and their parents are Cuban, and they haven't said anything in years about Cuba, it's a shame. They jump at the bandwagon now. Now, right when something's happening, now they're jumping on it. Why didn't you talk about Cuba before? So it's kind of hypocrite of them. So it's sad. It's sad because I was thinking about when Castro came into power. When Castro came into power, he did have a good agenda. Um, he wanted to take out the Batista regime out. And from my understanding, the Batista regime was just as bad as the Castro regime. But the only thing was that the Batista regime catered to the rich. So if you were a rich American, because they had great hotels, they had great food. I mean, Cuba, they still have great food. They had everything. Right? So they catered to the Americans. So if you came from the United States to Cuba and you had money, you were good. And the poor people didn't have much. And that's what Castro did what he did. But he did what Castro took over Cuba. And when he took over Cuba, he did say that he would work with the United States, but he's not going to bow to them like other countries do, which I can understand that no one wants to be done. No one wants to bow to any country. And that was his downfall from that moment on, because then he got hated on by Kennedy and by everybody else. And then you go down the list and you look at other countries that have been doing the same thing. You look at Venezuela. Venezuela is a country that's rich in oil. And Venezuela was supposed to be a socialist country. In other words, the oil that they produced, the money that was produced from the oil, was supposed to go to the people. What percentage? I don't know. But it was supposed to go for the people. It was to produce for the people. The people were supposed to get. It's like Alaska. Alaska, at the end of the year, they give their citizens a certain amount of money, depending on what how much they have allocated or whatever the case may be. So they have that, and that was the plan for Venezuela. So the people can enjoy that money. So that when you do work for a company, you don't work for minimum wage. You don't work for $5 or $2 or $3 an hour. You work for what you deserve to work for. You get paid your worth. And that's what basically socialism is all about, is that you're working for a company. The company is paying you for what you're worth. That everybody is supposed to be, not supposed to be, but everybody has a part. It's like profit sharing. When the company profit shares, they make their money, you make money. But in this case, you're getting paid. Okay, you're not getting paid $7.25 an hour. You're not getting paid $10 an hour. If Walmart was to pay its employees what it deserves to be paying, Walmart will still be making money. Walmart can pay the employees up to $25 an hour, and they don't even have to jack up the price. And these people will still make money. I mean, and the Walton family will still make money. But it's just that it's just greed. They just greed. They just want to pay you $7.25 an hour. They just want to pay you $10 an hour, and that's it. So going back to Cuba, that was Castro's idea. But now Castro went overboard with that idea, and he went totally communist. He went totally me, and he was doing he was working with the Russians. Russia had a base there. Russia had everything there. The only thing that belonged to the United States is Guantanamo Bay, and back in the 80s, so I think it was late 90s, early 90s, that's when Russia pulled out because they found out that Castro was taking their money. Go figure. Like, you think that's not gonna happen? So we have to. I personally, I'm with the people of Cuba. I've met a lot of Cuban people at my job. I've met a lot of people outside my job when I go and travel, and they're tired of being tired. They're tired of being told what to do. They're tired of the police brutality that there is in Cuba. They're tired of the country being so poor. I mean, the reason the country is poor, I mean, they all have their own thing, but there's an embargo. But that's not that much. There's not much that can come in and out of Cuba, because the United States has an embargo. I saw a TikToker once said that she said that even when Barack Obama took off the embargo, there was still chaos. The government did whatever they wanted to do. And to me, that's a shame. I'm looking at Haiti. Haiti is a country that won their independence. The only country that I know of that actually won their independence, guys. Not the United States didn't win their independence. Okay, because if they would have won independence, the Natives of America would have still been here, and the Mexican they would have been here. This would have been their country. So the Haitians defeated the French. And the thing about that is that when the Haitians defeated France, France turned around and said, "Now you're going to give us. Now you're going to pay us reparations. You're going to pay us for the land that we lost." Just the same way that the slave owners, when they lost their slaves to the Proclamation of Emancipation, when they lost the slaves to that, they turned around and they said, "You got to pay." They told the state that you got to pay us for reparations for us losing workers, for us losing our farms. They didn't lose their farms; they just wanted money. And there's some shit. Here you're enslaving people. Those people are freed, and you have the audacity to say that now I have to pay you because you help people against their will. Now talk about that. Talk about kidnapping. You kidnap a person now, it's against the law. Back then, you could just have an African American black person, and that's okay. You can own them. You can own them. Isn't that sad? So Haiti fought for their freedom. And then they had to pay reparation, which was up to 1922, guys, 1922 and 1942. And all that time that they're paying the reparation, Haiti became poor. So you can't move forward Plus, and then came the corruption. When you have a small island, remember that Haiti shares the island. They share the island with the Dominican Republic. Why those two have not gotten together and made some kind of an accord, I don't know. I guess it's just the same with Israel and Palestine. But those are two different religions that they don't get along. You know what I'm saying? But if you're sharing an island, you should come in together and say, you know what? We should do this for the greater of both of our people. Because we both live in an island. We both can benefit. But that's not the case. Haitians go into to Dominican Republic and they get spit at. Oh, what you doing here? That's it's just sad. And so what Cuba needs to free itself. Venezuela had that same idea. Venezuela had an idea of socialism because they had gas, they have oil. And when Chavez came in, he ruined everything. I mean, Venezuela was supposed to give back to the people like Alaska does. Alaska gives a certain amount of money to to all the citizens if you're there for a year. And whatever they have allocated, they have something that can be from $800 to $2,000 or more per person, depending on how much allocation they have gotten that year. But they paid, it's an expensive state from my understanding, but you get something, right? Same way was going to happen with Venezuela. But that didn't happen. People to this day are moving out of Venezuela, going to Chile, going to not Brazil, going to Chile, going to Bolivia, going to Argentina, going to the neighboring countries, Panama, going to the neighboring sisters and brothers countries so they can get food, so they can get work, because Maduro has that country under siege. Okay, when you have to ration toothpaste, that's sad, bro. That is sad. And how do people in Venezuela do a revolt? It's not that much you can do because you're not as that's a big army. Out in Cuba, it's different, and I'm behind the Cuban people 100%. If they can get the Castros out, they need to get them out. You don't have to do violence on them. Just put some form of pressure for them to leave. Plan it tactically and do it. What you don't kill nobody because you don't need to kill nobody, but just put pressure on the government that you have to step down because you have to, because you cannot live like that. And I've seen videos. If you go to TikTok and you watch a person who's doing live from Cuba, you see how the cops abuse. You think abuse is here? The cops, how they abuse the people in Cuba. I saw this one guy. I'm video recording a cop, and he says, "Why are you insulting the revolution, la revolución?" And he said, "What revolution? That's your revolution. That's not my revolution. My revolution is freedom. My revolution is democracy." And he said, "Oh, but you don't have to insult us with the revolution. You have to live by it." No, you live by it. He told him, "That's your revolution, not mine." And people are still stuck in the Castro era of the revolution. Well, those are the only people that got money. Those are the only people who are in law enforcement can say, "Oh, because if you are a cop, you have to defend that motto of Cuba, whatever the motto is. You have to defend whatever the Cuban government tells you. And whenever you say something against Cuba, you go to jail. Same thing with any communist country. Same thing with China. You say something against China, you go to jail. But there are, and that's a shame when when your voice cannot be heard because they're afraid. And Castro, Fidel Castro has passed away, but the Castro family has had a hold on Cuba for a very long time, and it's time for them to step down, or the people have to do the stepping down for them. It's plain and simple. I'm with Cuba all the way, man. I just don't like it when Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz start talking about Cuba, but they haven't talked about Cuba in a while. They never talked. The only one time they talked about Cuba was a few years ago, and that was when Donald Trump was running for president. But other than that, in these 4 years, have they talked about Cuba? Have they mentioned anything about Cuba? No, they have not. Barack Obama on his last year took the embargo away, and something was. I said, well, then I said to myself, when the embargo got lifted, I said, well, now Cuba can move forward. But Cuba cannot move forward unless the Castros is down. And then that's the truth. It's just like I'll give you an example. Just like Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico has a deficit of $72 billion. It was $72 billion a few years ago. Maybe it's now even higher than that. And the United States put a committee a committee board there to watch over the expenditure. In Puerto Rico has lost pension. Police officers have lost their pension. Firemen have lost their pension. Teachers have lost their pensions. Everything that they've worked for, that they put in so they can retire, they've lost all that because they clawed. The government had to claw from here to pay here. So this is what the government was doing, guys. So the government of Puerto Rico was taking one loan, right? So they take out one loan or several loans here, right? And they come and the following year, they take out another loan, and what they do is with that loan, they pay the interest on this loan. So the interest is here, but the loan is there. So all those loans add up. And then in 2004 or 2005, if I'm not mistaken, Puerto Rico implemented a 7% sales tax, something that's never been done before in Puerto Rico, a sales tax. So it went 7%. And then in 2012, when the then governor Alejandro Garcia Padilla became governor, he said, where is the 7? He was the one that opened the floodgates and said, wow, we have a 72 at that time, a $72 billion deficit. Where is this money? Where has the deficit come from? Where is this money for the 7% sales tax? No one knew where it was. To this day, no one does. To this day, Puerto Rico has not audited itself. If Puerto Rico was to do an audit, they'll find out where all that money's gone to, but they don't do it. So what happened? So it came this past election, and they voted for another inept guy. You had two different parties that were willing and able. They had the Independent Party, and you had Victoria Ciudadanía, which were two great parties. The Independent Party never went to Puerto Rico because the people think that if the United States, that if Puerto Rico was under governorship of an independent party, that Puerto Rico will become independent. No, that's not the way it works. How it works is that the government of the United States, the Senate, the Congress of the United States decides the fate of Puerto Rico, not Puerto Rico. Remember that, not Puerto Rico, the state, because Hawaii didn't want to become a state when they became a state. Alaska didn't want to become a state and they became a state. They were forced. Yes, they voted, but look at the voting outcome. It wasn't what you expected, and they still became state. The only reason they made Alaska and Hawaii state is because if you look at it strategically wise, Alaska is right next to. You can walk from Alaska to Russia. You literally can. Take you some time, but you can. And so you're right next to Russia. And then what happened with Hawaii with December the 6th, when they bombarded Hawaii, so they got scared, and after that, in the 1940s or 50s, it was that they made Hawaii a state because they figured this way: if Russia was to attack us and they came from the north, we got Alaska. Alaska can warn us. If anyone attacks us from the Pacific and then from Hawaii to the United States, it takes a while. They can warn us. Same thing with Puerto Rico. The only reason Puerto Rico is part of the United States is because it's strategic wise. Because it's, you have Cuba, you have Dominican Republic, you have this, they have, within all that grandeur, they basically don't have anything. They have the Virgin Islands, they have St. Croix, St. Thomas, that's it. St. Croix, St. John's, St. Thomas, and Puerto Rico. The biggest one of them all being Puerto Rico. So they have, that strategically wise, or else they wouldn't care about Puerto Rico. So here you are. You have Puerto Rico. The then governor had to take the 7% and spike up the sales tax to 12.5. 12.5, guys. People are screaming, "Oh, that's too high!" Blah 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 blah. But yet they picked. When they picked Rosselló, he's PNP, bad. Then they ousted him, and now in this election they got another PNP, bad. You had a perfectly independent party that was willing and still willing to do the good. I believe they would do a good job. I'm smart enough to know that Puerto Rico is not going to become an independent state because the governor is independent. No, and I know that Alejandro Lugaro would have been a great governor. Either her or Lourdes Santiago would have been great governors of Puerto Rico because they're a woman of empowerment. They're a woman who they know what they want for their country. And that's the way it is. It's not like these guys that they go into power and they're just doing it for self-worthiness or self-observation. I don't know what it is, but it's not for the people of Puerto Rico. They're not doing it for that. So Cuba's in the same boat. But the only thing about Cuba is the dictatorship. You know, you still have cars from the 60s. You have no 2002, 2020 Teslas. You don't got no Toyota Camry. You don't got none of that down there. Even though you have the embargo, but that's about it. So, it's time for the people of Cuba to be free. To be honest with you, it's time for the people of Cuba to be free. It's time for all those people who are in Miami who voted Republican. They say, "Oh, Trump, 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 Trump." Now is the time to stand up in line and say, "You know what? If you want your president, or you want the president of the United States to say something, then it's time for you guys in Miami to start acting up and say, you know what, Cuba, we're with you. Even though we're in Miami, we're with you. The Cubans in New York, the Cubans in New Jersey, there's a lot of Cubans in New Jersey. Stand up, do a rally, let your voices be heard." But no, you're not doing that, right? You can go outside, you can rally for the orange man, but you cannot rally for your own people. You cannot rally for your own kind and say Cuba must be free. You don't do that. Do you see any pickets in Manhattan going free Cuba? No. Do you see any pickets in Miami saying free Cuba? No. Do you see any pickets in Chicago or in New Jersey saying free Cuba? No, you're not seeing that. But if there was Donald Trump or it was something about the voting system, they'll go high and say free Cuba or whatever the case may be, because every Cuban that comes, I don't know why, so when they come from Cuba, they become a Republican. Why? I do not know. But it's time that we, the people, all Hispanics, blacks, whites, whatever the case may be, stand up and say, you know what, we should free Cuba. Cuba needs to be freed. It's a beautiful island. Never been there, but it's a beautiful island. They got great people, and the people deserve their freedom. The people deserve to have a chance at democracy. Let the people decide. You could be a great leader and let the people decide, and you do what the people want you to do. You don't do everything. You can't do everything, but at least you know that the people got your back. When you're dictating, that's not good, because you're the dictator. You're the one saying what you got to do, what they have to do, and that's not a way to live here in Cuba or in any other part of the country, or in any part of the world. So I feel for them to be told what to do and what not to do. You can only eat a certain amount of food. You can only be. The only thing, their medicine is good. You got free college, but you do, from my understanding, you do free college, but you have to work for them. That would be great if they paid you good, but you can't. You have to work for the government once you get to free college. So you become a lawyer, a doctor, whatever the case may be, you have to work for. You become an engineer, you have to work for them. So there's no point of you having free college and you have to work for the government, and the government's going to give you. You think I'm going to spend 4 years of my life or 8 years of my life so I can turn around and work for you? You're not going to give me nothing? No, I prefer you staying in my home, because from my understanding, most Cuban people who live in Cuba, they have their own house. They own their own house. As poor as they are, they own their own house. And the Cubans in Cuba are proud of their heritage, like everyone should be, But when you see people on TikTok, that's what I meant to say. When you see people on TikTok recording Cuba and what's called El Malecón, the Malecón is nice. Puerto Rico has a Malecón too, most places. And you see the people inside Cuba, in the city of Cuba, of Havana, and you see the way they live. In, like, if you ever been to Puerto Rico and you've been to Old San Juan and you've been to La Perla, it's just like that. It's small. It's outdated. It's very vintage. And it's nice in a way, but then you see the cops harassing these people. You see the cops arresting people. You see people fighting. La revolución, man. That shit, la revolución is dead, man. It's time to wake up. It's time to do something. It's time to say, you know what? We're in the 21st century. We are in the 21st century. It's got to be, something's got to be done. Hey, what's up, Arrowhead? Cuba needs to be free, and that's why I put the Cuban flag there. I said free Cuba, and I got that anti-Castro. I'm against any communism whatsoever, against everything. It's like yesterday at work. I was at work, and I had a gentleman who said, "Oh, but Trump exposed everything. The reason I voted for Trump is because he exposed everything. He said everything right. He exposed people." I said, "Wait a minute, who did Trump expose?" His wife was like, "Who did he expose?" Hey, what's up, Arrowhead? How you doing? Who did Trump expose? Because Listen, let me tell you something. I would have voted for Trump if Trump was someone that I could confide in. But I was born and raised in New York, and I just don't. I know the shady things that Trump does. I don't know it personally, but you read about it. You know what I'm saying? So you read about it. I know personally what he did in Puerto Rico because I lived in Puerto Rico and I worked for one of his resorts in Puerto Rico, which he bought the resort. He's not very smart. But this is what happened. He bought the resort, which is called Cocoa Beach. Still there now. It's a nice hotel. It was bought by somebody else. So he bought the resort and he made villas. So these villas, the villas are nice, but they're not livable. Because why? Because some morons who decided to make these villas decided to do it on a sinkhole. So the villas were literally sinking. So they're non-livable now. You can't sell them. So what he did, he jumped ship and he filed for bankruptcy. You can Google that too. And what he did, so when he filed for bankruptcy, the people of Puerto Rico had to take that bill of $20 million and pay for it. How? I don't know. Taxpayers, I don't know, because we do have Puerto Rico does have taxes now, and it was $20 million that he left the people of Puerto Rico, to fend with. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And it's a shame. So this is not a business, man. This is the narcissist, man. I was going to vote for Marco Rubio, to be honest with you, but then Marco Rubio just, in his last debate, he just kept going after Trump instead of saying what he's going to do for the people. He decided to go after Trump, and that was his failure. And I was not going to vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. I was not going to vote for Donald Trump. I vote for the person who I believe is best to handle the United States. That's who I vote for. I don't care if you're independent. I don't care if you're Republican. I don't care if you're Democrat. I don't care about that. But I'm going to vote for the person who I believe is going to lead this country. And Hillary Clinton was not going to do that. Trump was not going to do that. Biden's not doing that. But the least of two evils, I want to vote for Biden. But it is what it is. But we're talking about Cuba now. So the people of Cuba need to revolt. You don't have to do it with violence, and you can revolt and whatever leads to whatever. But the people of Cuba need to be freed, man. And that's what I'm saying. All you people of Cuba, all you people in Miami, if you're Cuban, go out there and protest. You people in Chicago protest. The people wherever there's a big community, go out there and protest, man, because it's not fair. Well, both sides, yes, both sides have the same agenda. Look at it this way. Put it just think about it. I'm gonna take you way back. In 1964, the agenda for the Republicans was this: equal pay, and you can look it up. It was equal pay, people to join the union, for minimum wage to go up, and there was another one that was their credo. I'm talking about. In 1964, this was their credo, the Republicans' credo, right? And if you look at that, that's somewhat of what Democrats do, right? Same thing. But over from 1964 all the way to now, the Republicans just think for themselves. I'm not talking about the people. I'm not talking about people who vote Republican. I'm talking about the Republican Party is just working for the Republican Party. They're not working for the Republican people. They're not working for the people who vote Republican. They're not doing that. They're voting for themselves. All right. They want big pharma companies. They want this. They want that. That's who they're voting for. Before you vote at a Democrat or Democrat, say to yourself, why am I going to vote for this person? Why am I going to vote for that person? Not because they're the Democrat or Republican, but vote for the person. Think about it. Vote for the person who's going to be with you. Because most of these guys and most of these women that you send to office, they don't do their jobs. Think about it. Pelosi's a woman. There should be a limit to the Senate because all these old farts, Pelosi, what was it? Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, the guy from Lindsey Graham, senator from Kentucky. What's his name? From South Carolina. I mean, they're all old. They're all old. They don't know what this generation, the generations to come, need. There should be a limit. Pelosi's worth $20 million. $20 million, bro. All right. Lindsey Graham has like $15 million. And mind you, Donald Trump said Lindsey Graham back in 2016, he said that Lindsey Graham was the worst senator that ever lived, that he would never endorse Lindsey Graham, that he would never be friends with Lindsey Graham. And what does Lindsey Graham do? Suck his ass and goes to Trump, and he's always behind Donald Trump. He spoke bad about Ted Cruz's wife, and Ted Cruz still kissed his ass. Look at the hypocrisy. Just the same way in the debate. Kamala Harris talked about Biden, the busing situation back in the days. Okay, about how Biden said he didn't want his kids to grow up in the jungle. Harris said that about Biden, and yet she became the vice president of the United States. And why? Because he needed a black person to be with him so he can get the black vote. That's simple. I know nobody's with us, bro. I know that we are for ourselves. This is why you don't see me carrying a flag saying, "Oh, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a this, I'm a that." No, because at the end of the day, they don't do anything for any of us. They don't do anything for no Republicans, and they don't do anything for no Democrats. They do it for themselves. You know, when Donald Trump was president of the United States, he did a tax cut. He did a tax break. Who was it for the rich? Right? The corporations went from 36% or 37%, went down all the way to 20-something%. All right, the rich got a tax break. Okay, and then starting this year, that tax break goes back up slowly but surely until 2027. So you're going to feel a pinch of it. I'm going to feel a pinch of it, but the corporations are not going to feel a pinch of it because he left that intact. That's forever. You know, so we have to, as a nation, look out. In Cuba, it's only 90 miles away from Miami, and the people need to be heard. The people need to be freed. The Cubans need to have their own country. They need to have their own say in their country. They need to have freedom. They need to have freedom. And us having an embargo on them because that should not be here or there. You you got, put it this way, man. If you think about that, the United States gave Iran $1 billion to stop producing bombs, nuclear bombs. So if you can give a country that produces terrorists, if you're giving them $1 billion who is producing terrorism, why can you help the people of Cuba? I don't see the people of Cuba producing terrorism. I don't see that, right? Do you? So who is the hypocrite? I'm talking about these are both parties. Both parties. That was a bad deal from the get-go. So yeah. So I'm here to stand with the Cuban people. I'm here to stand for every Cuban there is in Cuba. If you don't, I'm saying in Spanish, Cuba, yo quiero que ustedes sean libres, yo quiero que ustedes sean el ejemplo del Caribe, porque se lo merecen, de verdad que se lo merecen. No es justo que ustedes estén en esa bondad de atraques o el atraque por el Estado, por el comunismo que hay en Cuba, por la revolución y esa porquería que estos guardias, los policías, creen que es lo que debe de hacer. Pero si están viendo esto, yo creo que la gente de Cuba sea libre, que la gente de Cuba sea una isla y un país digno de que la gente nos mire, porque Cuba es un país, de que yo he visto fotos, un país maravilloso. Y siempre he querido ir allá. Y soy puertorriqueño y he ido a Puerto Rico un montón de veces y he vivido en Puerto Rico. Pero quiero ir a Cuba por su historia, por su, no historia de la matanza que han hecho, no, pero por la historia de Cuba y la gente que son amables. The people of Cuba are very amicable. All those people in the Caribbean are amicable because they know what it is to hustle. They know what it is to wake up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning and you have to work in a farm or you have to work in a factory. They know what hustling means, So Let's go out there and let's do what we can do. If you get a chance to put on your Facebook, Free Cuba. If you get a chance to put on Instagram, Free Cuba. You don't have to do it with your voice, but like I have here my flag, Free Cuba, and that's what it is. Start putting little seeds into the ground, man. Little seeds to the ground. PRORD. Ha 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 ha. Got that. She's very funny. Chistosa. So we gotta do. A lot of people. That talk about racism and all that. Will racism ever end? And that's gonna be one of my topics this month. I mean, this week. Is racism ever gonna end? I don't think so. Are we fighting a losing cause? We've been fighting the cause for what? Over 300-400 years, and it's still the same thing. Still the same thing. And we still today, we're probably worse off today, culturally wise, and ethically wise, and all those wise, than we were 20-30 years ago. Okay? And that's the truth. So it's important that we make our voice. And like I said, if you can, put the little Cuba sign in your Instagram, on your TikTok, or on your, on your Twitter, and let the people know that you're with Cuba. Let the people, don't be like Ted Cruz and fucking Marco Rubio. They're only doing it for political reasons. Do it because you're a human being, and you want the people of Cuba to know that even though you're not there with them, you're there with them in solidarity. That you're thinking about them. You let them know that as human beings that you're there with them, because no country should be suffering through atrocities. I can remember Africa, when Africa before it became different countries, and it was just one. That was the bombardment. Women were getting raped in the Congo, in Zimbabwe, and no government would do anything about that, right? No government wouldn't say, this is atrocity. These are bad things they're doing. No one went in there because they were fighting. I mean, in Zimbabwe or whatever the case may be, there were diamonds. So diamonds were not that important to the United States. But you go touch the oil of Iraq, the oil of Kuwait, boom, the United States jump in. Hi, Rayus. So I want the people of Cuba to be free. They need to be free. Now, the same thing about the people in Venezuela. The people in Venezuela needs to be freed also. They need to be freed. It's kind of a shame that people from that country has to go to Colombia to go work. They have to leave their country to go work in Colombia for pennies to the dollar, for whatever the case may be, so they can have something to eat, because in their country their food is rationed. Like I said before, toothpaste is rationed. Toothpaste, guys, shit's bad when you have to ration toothpaste. What up, Bruce? When you have to ration toothpaste, now you're in a shitty situation. Then when your country tells you you're going to buy one toothpaste for the whole entire month, then it's time for you to go. And these are places that have beautiful spots. These are places that that you can harvest your own food. But how can you harvest food if you got no gas? How can you harvest food if you got no labor? How can you harvest food if you got nothing to harvest with? Because your country is being idiots, and they want everything for themselves. You can't do it. Same thing with Cuba. Cuba, everything that they have is the sugar cane, the Bacardi's not Puerto Rican. Bacardi was Cuban, and they moved to Puerto Rico because of the Castro regime, because there was no money to be made there. I don't know if it was because of the Castro regime or Bautista. I'm not sure. King Squad is here. Yeah. So I don't know if it was because of the Castro regime or the Bautista regime, but Bacardi went to Puerto Rico. Okay, a lot of countries, there were a lot of companies in Cuba, and they had to leave Cuba to go somewhere else because they just wasn't making it there. The same thing is here. We all think about the United States as the capital of the world, but yet you go everywhere you go, or everywhere you call, should I say, customer service is outsourced to another country. The shirt that you're wearing right now, look at the shirt on your back. It's going to be probably say made in China, or made in Taiwan, made in the Philippines, made somewhere but the United States of America. And I remember when I was growing up, a lot of things were made here in America. Okay, now rarely anything. So when I buy something, I try to buy as much as American as I can. I tend not to go too much to Walmart because I don't like to cater to them. I like to buy mom and shop because I like to support mom and shop shops. Right? You say no hablo. You don't need to speak Spanish, right? Use for you to go for the course of free Cuba. I heard Trudeau yesterday said that anybody who thinks that they're going to come to Canada unvaccinated or no, he said I think what Trudeau said was for those who think that we're going to open up the borders for unvaccinated people is not going to happen anytime soon. So that means if you want to go to Canada and you're not vaccinated, you're not going to Canada. You know, so it is what it is, right? So yeah, so think about it. Here we have Cubans who are suffering because I saw the news the other day, and these people are actually revolting. It's a small percentage, but if that percentage gets to go high, then it's going to be a big revolution in Cuba, and it's going to be hopefully not, but it's going to be people dying. And if that happens, if there's death in Cuba, then I would hope that those deaths do not be in vain, and they regain democracy, which is something that Cuba has never had. Cuba has never had democracy. Even if you think about Bautista, no, I've spoken to Cuban people, and Cuban people were like, I asked them, who do you like most, Bautista or Castro? And they said none. They're both the same. Like I said before, the only thing that Bautista liked the most was money. So if you were rich and you were American, you can go to Cuba. You can do a lot of things in Cuba. You can get away with murder in Cuba back in those days. The Kennedys went to Cuba a lot. Like Scarface movie, yeah. Look at this way. Think about this way. This is not very bright, right? Someone up here thought to hire. I think and I'm saying this because my nephew Bruce said Scarface the movie, and if you see Scarface the movie towards the end, where the Colombian drug dealer sends his missionaries to come and kill Tony Montana, and you see them on TV and blah 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 blah, right? So I was watching the news the other day, and I was watching how these people went into Haiti and they killed. They didn't try to kill them, but you see the people driving in. And I don't know how they got in because these are supposed to be secure places. They went in and they killed the president of Haiti, right? And they were Colombians, bro. Colombian missionaries. I think there was 2 Americans and stuff like that. Just think about it. These motherfuckers saw a movie thinking that they could do the same thing as Scarface. So instead of having people from their own country, they hired, I think it was 20-something, out of 20-something people, 18 of them were Colombians. Why would you risk your life to go from your country, go to another country to kill a president? I don't give a shit how small the country is. If you get caught, you're fucked. You think they're going to see the light of day? No. Do you think they're going to see prison? No. I'm against oppression too, Rayus. I'm against all oppression. I don't care what country you're from. I'm against Jew people, Israel going against Palestine. I'm against that. I think Palestine deserves their own land. Yes. So think about that. So here these guys go. They think they're Tony Montana, and they're gonna go into Haiti, and they're gonna get away with it. And they're gonna get away with it because they figured small country, we can go in and out, and that ain't happening. And you see them, I saw them drag them. They were dragging these guys with they were tied up in their back with no shirts on a mountainside. And the people of Haiti were right there. They're not in the courthouse, in the mountains. They were, I don't know where they were taking them to, but you see them. And I'm like, I feel bad for these guys. They're not going to see the light. I don't even think they're going to see court. Those are the kind of people they're going to get convicted without a judge or a jury and get shot. Well, someone in Haiti asked for someone for that man to be killed because they were talking about something about that all started because the president of Haiti said that they was not going to vaccinate people in Haiti because they had a cure for it, a plant or something like that, and that's when it all started. And just the other day, Biden said that he was going to send COVID-19 vaccine to Haiti, and then Haiti said that they was going to vaccinate their people, and now the president is dead. Pharmaceuticals? I don't know, but when I saw that piece, and if I can see it and show it to you, you can see that piece. You see them couching. You see them like in the movie Scarface. They're like this, and the 4x4 is right behind them. I don't know if it was a Montero. She like 3 Monteros coming in. Boop, boop, boop. I'm like, oh my god, these people think they're really actually gonna get away with this. Yes, they're throwaways. Always, whenever you never send your best man to do your job. You always send throwaways, because if they get caught, they get caught. You know, they're expendable. Those what you call collateral damage. Oh well. You're not gonna send your best man to do your dirty job. Your best man is for your best work, right? Go in and out. Do come in and go in. Like you send the Navy SEALs. You send the Navy SEALs, let them go in and poof, come back out. But not this time. They sent 20 some, I think it was 23 people, bro, to kill the president of Haiti. That is something. And we all know Haiti is a corrupt country. You know, in 2009 or 2009 or whenever it was, the earthquake in Haiti got a lot of money, and they're still impoverished. People probably still living in tents. I don't know, but that was mishandled, and the United Nations didn't do anything about it. The United States didn't do anything about it. No one did anything about it. You know, so it's kind of sad. It really is. But this is anyway. But yeah, but you cannot live in a country where you are oppressed. You can. It's nice to know that you can have an articulate conversation with someone, and even if that person doesn't agree with you or you don't agree with them, you still have an articulate conversation. And at the end of the conversation, you still leave the same way you guys came back in. Either you came in friends, or you weren't friends. You just knew each other from that moment. It's cool. There's no hatred. There's no hatred towards one another. The Colombians that killed the human president will be tortured for get caught or prison. Prisoners in the U.S. have a good food and gyms. Those Colombians are done. Oh, I know, right? They're not going to see the light of day. Look at the video. These guys are being walked on the mountainside, and the road is, I shit you not, probably like maybe this big on a mountain, and you have to you're walking. They're walking like this, gouching down with their hands tied behind their back, no shirts on. You know they're gonna burn like a mofo, but they're not gonna see the light of day. And that's sad. You think I want to go to another country? It's my own country. I wouldn't even do that. But to go to another country and and commit a crime, and if you get caught, you ass out. I don't know why. It's like mules. They pay they give a person a certain amount of money to go to Colombia, to go somewhere else, and to bring back drugs. You know that 9 out of 10 times you're gonna get caught, because they're sending you to get drugs, but yet they have 3 other people getting drugs too. So they let those 3 people go by, and then they call, this person is coming in, so because they have to give something to the cops. And it's your dumb ass. And then your ass is doing time in a foreign country. When you get, because listen, let me tell you, I seen videos of Dominican Republic people in the Dominican jails. They don't get treated the way here. Nah. In other countries, they got like 60 people to a room. And you're gonna get you get fed by a big ass pot with a big old spoon, like this, blank. That's not life, son. I don't give a fuck what it is. See, the countries like that, that's where you should send murderers and child molesters. Because I don't believe in the death penalty, because the death penalty doesn't do anything anyway. And but I do believe that a capital punishment for someone who murders the whole family, or someone who molests a child or beats up an old woman, you give them prison. You don't have to give them life. You don't have even not life. You don't have to give them death penalty. All you gotta do is just close them in a room and just leave them there for 24 hours a day for the rest of their life. If they met God and they came in peace with God and they accepted God and Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior, amen to that. But I will not let them see the light of day. Because when Texas and other states like that decide to do the death penalty, in their heads, they thinking, hey, people, the deaths are going to go down. And that's not the case. Look at the death. Look at the death of Texas. Look at the murder rates of Mississippi, Texas. They're high. People, when they're going to kill somebody, you think they're going to think about the death penalty? No. But if a mofo say to yourself, let me see, wait. I'm going to spend the next 45, 50 years in a jail cell, not seeing the sun, no TV, no nothing. Nah, I'm going to let that mofo live. Because when you go into, when you get convicted of the death penalty, you're still in general population. Towards the end is when you go into solitary confinement. What time is the home run derby? Because Alonso's there. We 2 hours behind, so yeah. So that's what you do. You take a person who molests people, and you take a person who murder a person, and you just leave them. They need to make a big ass cell somewhere, and just let them just not rot, but let them think about what they did for the rest of their life. Not even get in contact with a human being, just to get food. Who's in the finals now? Is Alonso there? But I'm talking about Cuba, bro. Cuba's more important than. If Alonso's not there, I don't want to hear it. And Bruce, I already got the green thing, not the green thing, the supplies, and it's coming up. It came today, but I didn't set it up today, so I'm gonna set it up tomorrow. So you're gonna see hopefully a different studio King Geo show. Anyway, Rayuz, welcome back to Rayuz. Came back to my membership, guys. Arrowhead, I do have a membership of $1.99, $2.99, and $4.99. So if you want to join and you want to subscribe, please do so. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Rayuz, for joining back. And guys, I'm gonna let you guys go. I appreciate you being here. Tomorrow is another live, guys. Another live for King Geo show. Thank you, and que viva Cuba. Cuba all the way, baby. Cuba all the way. Thank you, guys. God bless.